I never thought that I would be the victim of abuse, whether it was physical or emotional. I thought that everybody in the world was good and had my best interest at mind. Boy, was I wrong. When I was in 6th grade, I met this ag teacher that was amazing at first. She introduced me to showing livestock through pigs, and I was grateful. But I soon found out that she was much worse than that. You see, I was the only girl showing pigs that didn't have a parent working at the school. Both of my parents worked in law enforcement somewhere else, but everybody else who was showing an animal had either a mom or a dad working at the school. So every evening when they'd go to practice showing, I guess, there would be a parent there watching, making sure they were taking in the information, making sure that they were on the right track to be ready for the future shows. Except me. Every day, I would go to the barn by myself and start walking my pig. And the little comments started about a couple weeks after I got my pig. And I don't know if she knew that I heard them, but she would talk to the other parents and make like little snide comments about me, like, why is she doing that? Why is she dressed like that? Just different things about what I was doing or how I was dressing without correcting me, without correcting my form, without fixing something that I was doing wrong. She would spend all of her attention correcting all of the other girls and leaving me out to the wolves. I was completely on my own. And then a little bit of time passed, and she felt more comfortable saying things like that to my face. She would make the comments, embarrass me in front of all of the other girls who were showing, and made it hard. I mean, I was in 6th grade. I was young. I had no confidence to begin with. But it seemed like she was building all the other girls up, but tearing me down because I had no person to protect me. I had no self-defense mechanisms. I had never been taught that. There was never a person in my life that had done such a thing to me as to say rude comments in front of me. But this wasn't where it stopped. It only got worse. Even more time passed. And she would see me in the mornings. And she would see me in the mornings before breakfast in the cafeteria while I was feeding my pig. And she would say hi to me. She would do like a little casual conversation, like, hi, how are you? Things like that. And then she would go to the cafeteria. So I would finish up feeding my pig and go along with it. Well, there's one time in particular where I very specifically remember what happened. I get to the cafeteria after all those events happened, and I had grabbed my food. And as I was walking to my table, like all the teachers, so in the cafeteria, like all of the teachers would line up against the wall while all the students were sitting down eating breakfast. Like this is all before COVID. And she pulled me out of like a little line of students who were going to eat in front of all of her little teacher friends. And she started chewing me out for, I think it was I did something wrong. I think I fed my pig the wrong thing and she found out because one of the other girls told her. But she started chewing me out in front of everybody. Now, I'm not a person who likes confrontation at all. Whether it's private, but in public is so much worse. She made me feel like I was worthless in that moment. She was tearing me down. She was telling me, well, why'd you do this? And I couldn't answer. She confronted me in front of all of my friends, made me break down into tears to where I was scared to go to school. You should not be afraid to go to school ever. I hated waking up in the mornings, having to go to school and face her in a place where I should feel protected. That 1.5 years time that this lasted was, I'd like to say, a living hell. So she made me so embarrassed. I ran off. I don't even remember where I went. And I just started. I didn't know what to do. Nothing like this had ever happened to me in my life. None of my family knew because, I was just trying, at this point, this was the worst of it. I was just trying to brush it off my shoulders, take it like a mean bully at school, be like, you'll be fine, just get up and go to school tomorrow. But it, like I said, it got to the point to where I was scared to go to school. I did not want to face her at all. She had completely torn down my confidence the little confidence that I had built up and the little defense mechanisms that I had. She tore them to nothingness. Stuff like this went on for probably another year until a couple months into my 7th grade year, when people started noticing. I think I casually brought it up to my mom because I was always told that I need to be tough. So I casually brought it up to her and I was like, yeah, this has been happening for the past 9 months to a year. And it was difficult. I didn't know how to react. I didn't know how she was going to react. But she knew that it wasn't right. How they were treating all these other girls with caring. She was caring to all the other girls and made their lives easier, or she was just tearing me down and making my life harder. And she was really good about putting on a poker face, per se. When we would get out into public, like around my parents specifically, she would treat me like everything was all good and dandy, that there was nothing wrong. She was two-faced, very two-faced. And my parents finally realized that I had no confidence anymore. I had no way of defending myself. And they pulled me out of the school barn. They brought my animal to my house, to where I didn't have to deal with her anymore. And so whenever she stopped having control over me by knowing everything that I was doing to my pig, she stopped treating me like crap. My mom confronted her and she had told my mom, well, if you were at the barn more, this wouldn't happen. Well, needless to say, that ag teacher almost got punched in the face if my dad wouldn't have stopped my mom. So my parents finally, after a year of this happening, pulled me out of that toxic area. And I realized that for the past 1.5 years, I had been the victim of emotional abuse. It was hard to come back from that. I've struggled ever since then with my self-confidence and my defense mechanisms so that something like this never happens to me again. And ever since that time in my life, that 1.5 years time in my life, I have vowed and I have built up my defense mechanisms, and I have vowed to never let a person tear me down like that. I know when to cut out toxic people from my life now. And I learned when there's a thin line where between things that are okay and things that are not okay. I learned to differentiate the different things. And I learned that the teachers are supposed to protect you, not tear you down. So from that point on, I vowed to never let this happen to me again, that I would defend myself from this point forward. And I learned how to cut those toxic people out of my life to ensure that everybody I had around me wanted the best for me and that I wanted the best for them.